I am blue, you are bright and shiny in my mind. You got me loving, hating, crazy indecision in my mind.
Welcome to the Fall Podcast, where the focus is on deer hunting, tips, tricks, tactics, and stories from across the Midwest. And now, here is your host, Aaron Blasey.
Welcome to the Fall Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Blasey, and with us, as always, Justin Fabian, coming from Des Moines, and today's a good one. It's returning guest, Joel Burham, man.
Yeah, Mr. Venison Gaines himself. Whitetail Fit, man. He's an animal. I've been trying to keep up with him, since we talked to him. I don't even know what episode number that was, but
41, I think, and now
41.
We're on 75. Yep.
So, 30 weeks ago, 35 weeks ago, but it's cool, man. Like, after we got to talk to him that time, and I ran into him out in Salt Lake City last winter and got to meet him and, just have a conversation in person, and he's as good a dude in person as he is on the phone, I'll tell you. So it's just cool to have somebody that's willing to come back on and just kind of have a familiar face back on the show and a familiar voice talking about a different season.
For sure. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. He is just a cool guy to talk to. He's like any one of the guys you're at deer camp just bullshitting, and he's fun to talk to. I mean, he's always upbeat, laughing, and he's got a wealth of knowledge as well. Yeah,
and he's just go with the flow kind of guy, like no stress, no pressure, just doing his thing, man. That's obviously working really well for him, so I'm happy for him.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. So you briefly, coming up here, you have a mule deer hunt coming up. I mean, quick, like Tuesday, I think, right?
Yeah, so here we are, Friday night, August 9th, and we're recording tonight, and I'm leaving on Tuesday. So by the time this goes out, it'll go out on Monday, and I'll be leaving the next day. So I'll be on the road by the time people are listening to this for the most part.
Yeah, are you ready?
I think so. Short of, wishing I was shooting better, but I got all my gear. I've got everything kind of planned out. I got to do the classic gear dump still, so I got the weekend for that. But I got Mama Dukes here visiting from Virginia for the weekend, and going to spend some time with her. We got the state fair going on, so a little busy here, but putting the family time in, and going to do my practice pack probably Sunday afternoon after she leaves, and just get ready to go, man. Just start packing the bronc box and load the truck up. I mean, there's nothing else I can do at this point.
I know, it's here. The fall is basically here.
Yeah, it's August 9th.
It kind of hit me.
The fall's here, yeah.
It kind of hit me this week. I'm like, man, I better get my Garmin set up on my bow. And actually, now that we mention it, big news today. Now I can say what bow I'm shooting. So we're shooting Matthews from now on. So
yeah, man.
Finally let the cat out of that bag.
Yeah, welcome to the club.
Yeah, I'm happy. I've had this bow for a couple months now, and it's just been something. I shouldn't say a couple months. It's been a month or a month and a half or so, and I'm shooting the Verdicts, and got my new Platinum ABBs on there, and shooting Easton 5mm, like I told everybody before. Built those arrows 5mm Axis 340s.
Yep,
actually paper tuned them today.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I'm starting to realize too that Matthews is liking a lighter spined arrow. When you get into the paper tune process, it's my bow in particular likes like a lighter spined arrow. So it's shooting great right now. I actually got my Garmin sighted in from 20 to 30 today, so I got to get the rest of those set up, and I'm ready, man. Iowa's coming quick, and Kansas is coming even quicker, and I'm getting trail cam pictures, and there's some giants down there right now, so I'm excited to get down there.
Yeah, they're showing their face now. It's arguably, it's arguable, but you're going to see probably more big bucks in the next 10 days here in Iowa than you might even see during the rut in November. Like they're
it.
not bashful at all about getting out in those bean fields right now as they finish that growing process. And I know you mentioned that one of the pictures you got, there was one that was starting to strip velvet already.
Yeah, it was weird. It was on his G2, it was on his G4. I don't know, like I said, I was telling you, I don't know if he nicked it on something or whatever, but kind of the inside of his G4 on the right side, I mean, you can tell it's stripping velvet. I don't know what it is, but I'm like, man, that's early. And I don't know when the picture was taken. I can't remember. Chad was sending them to me, but it is, the 9th, like you said, of August. And like I said, I don't know if something like a bug's getting in there or what it is, but he's stripping it. So
yeah, it could be anything at this point, but as long as it's not broken, that's all that matters right now.
That's what he's a good deer. I mean, he's mid-50s right now, so
nice.
Just
really
don't lose any inches on there.
Yeah.
But
no,
well, cool. I say we get over to this interview with Joel. I mean, today we're just going to briefly talk. I mean, it's kind of a BS session, but there is some good talking points in here. We talk about shooting form and target panic and fitness and for hunts in general and what hunts he's got coming up. And he's got a pretty cool hunt coming up with his dad, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that was neat. Yeah, it's
so
I want to point out one thing that Joel is also an ABB shooter, so it's kind of the ABB trifecta here in this episode. But if anybody is still in need of a string, check out americasbestbowstrings.com and click on that shop tab up at the top, because there is a ton of super discounted strings in there right now for the premium, the platinum, and the pursuit series. Like if somebody orders one and it's for the wrong bow or the color's off or something, Bryant went on Instagram the other day talking about there's a surplus of discounted strings right now. So you kind of got to take your chances. Go shop on there and see if there's one that fits your bow. But if there is, it's a really good opportunity to get one at a really good price.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with those strings either. They're not like they're used strings. There could be overstock strings or, strings that were ordered too many of from a shop or a dealer or something like that. They're just basically overstock strings that they need to move. So, like, Justin said and Bryant on IG, go over there and look at it. And you might get like a Vertex that has the colors you want, or maybe it isn't the colors you want, but you need a new string and it's cheaper. So, I mean, go over there and snag one of those up. That'd be a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. And even if you want to just go for the gusto, speaking of Whitetail Fit, they have a Whitetail Fit Signature Series string. And from what I hear, it's been the most popular selling string that he's had this summer.
Yeah, and they're good-looking strings. I think they're, a flow orange and gunmetal gray? Is that what that is?
Yep, and I think there's some white in there with it. Orange, gray, and white.
Yeah, it's a real slick-looking string.
Yeah, so it's here, like we said, so you need something, go check it out.
For sure. Lastly, so nobody's confused here, this is actually episode 74 of the podcast, but I'm calling it episode 75 because for some reason in the iTunes, when you look at it in iTunes, like last week's episode says episode 73, but iTunes thinks it's episode 74. I know this is probably really confusing to everybody, but I don't want you to think that we're skipping an episode or you missed it. This is actually episode 74, but I'm calling it 75 from here on out. So it's episode 75 going forward. So I don't want anybody to think that they missed one. It's just there was some confusion. I got some DMs about, did we miss an episode? No, you didn't miss an episode. So it's looking like we're going to skip one, but we're going forward with it right here. So hopefully that makes sense. But
we're just conforming to iTunes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Just doing that. So, all right, let's kick it over this interview with Joel and we'll take it from there. All right, on the phone with us today is returning guest, Venison Gains himself, Joel Burham. What's going on, man?
Oh, man, not a whole lot. How are y'all doing?
Doing good.
Doing good.
You're good.
We're getting close to season, man, and I know
my goodness.
you and Justin are going to be heading out here. Well, not together, but you guys are going on a mule deer hunt soon, and I'm jealous because you're going to be getting on bucks before I get to.
Dude, that's the best part of it is like it gets to extend my season because the Western states open up earlier than, so whitetail here in Nebraska opens up September 1st, which is pretty early for a whitetail season. So I'm like super stoked about that. But when I get to go out and hunt mule deer in Utah a little bit earlier there in August, it just extending the season is always a good thing.
For sure.
Yeah, I was looking back on the bear hunt because, again, like you were out in Montana, and I think I followed you a week afterwards, and that was only the first week of June. So it was like I only had to get through July, well, all of June, and then July and August. And you look back, and it's like, wow, I only had 3 months off. That's kind of nice. Like I'm ready to get back out there.
That's the funny thing. I'd never actually, this was my first bear hunt this spring. And I'd never done that, but man, I tell you what, it's going to be a annual thing from here on out. That's no doubt. Cause it's actually, I mean, the way we hunted them, spot and stalk and stuff out there in Montana, it's like a big physical, like mountain hunt during the spring, like during the only other thing going on is turkey hunting, so kind of cool to have a big Western hunt like that.
Yeah, same here, man. I did like 23 or 25 miles in 3 days, and then I killed the bear a mile from my truck on the last day.
Funny how that goes, huh?
Yeah, it is what it is. I'll take it.
It's all about the journey, though, right, boys? I mean, that's what we're after anyway.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you know what? That's the cool thing is, it was funny. I went out to the Western Hunt Expo in February, and I honestly I wasn't even planning on doing a bear hunt at all, like in any way, shape, or form. But I go out to the Western Hunt Expo, and I got my good buddy Chandler Bateman out there. It's who I was staying with, and he had a buddy Tyson Olson from Montana, and he's like, "Hey man, I want you to meet my buddy. He's coming down for the Western Hunt Expo. We'll just go out and get some breakfast or whatever, and just talk hunting." Sweet, cool. I'm down with it. I'm always good for talking hunting. So went out, got some breakfast, and we just got to talking, and I no clue who Tyson was, just knew he was a buddy of Chandler. So got to talking and ended up on the subject of bear hunting, and I was like, man, I would love to go bear hunting, but I said, the way I'd like to do it spot and stalk, nothing against the tree stand hunting kind of thing at all whatsoever. Just, I don't know, I just hadn't had a huge interest in it, I guess. So I just wanted to do it spot and stalk, and he's like, man, why don't you come out to Montana? And like I say, dude, I don't know Tyson from anyone. I'm like, well, what are you talking about? It's like, and there's just, I mean, obviously y'all know there's a ton of public land out in Montana, and
Tons.
Oh yeah. So we just kind of put it together, started talking about it, and right there at the breakfast table, I'd known Tyson about 45 minutes, and we all shook over it. It's like, all right, we're going to Montana on a bear hunt this spring, and sure enough, got a group text going, got it all together. It's an over-the-counter tag. I just got my tag at Wal Mart, and linked up and had an absolute epic hunt. So now we're like best buddies. I knew Tyson for 45 minutes ahead of time, and now I feel like he's a brother. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the cool thing about hunting, though. I mean, you meet a guy or gal through, a friend, a mutual friend, and then you just have this bond through hunting and being an adventurous, and you're just like best friends now, like you said. That's the cool thing about it.
Right, exactly, dude. I literally, I remember when I shot my bear, because Tyson was like behind me glassing and everything, and just kind of like, I didn't know a whole lot about like bear behavior and stuff like that, and definitely in the moment when adrenaline spike and stuff, Tyson was kind of talking me through it, and shot the bear or whatever. I remember I turned around and I'm like, we're brothers now, right? And he just started laughing, and it's like, give him a hug, and it's like, hey, you go through, and like Justin was saying, we went through kind of the same thing, just hard miles and not seeing a lot of bears and stuff, and then ended up dropping down into some lower country, and that's where I ended up killing my bear. But yeah, it's when you go through that kind of stuff with someone else, it's like you're all enduring the suck, Yep. You all know what it's awesome. Like, so when it all comes together, it's just like icing on the cake.
I have a question for you to start this off here. So now we're in August here. You guys got a hunt coming up, and the fall's coming up. And Justin and I were just talking before we started recording about how I got my bow out, starting shooting, and I can tell I'm weak. I haven't been shooting like I should. What is your like shooting regimen right now through the summer to kind of keep your muscle memory up and, keep your form good and make sure you're not tired, your arms and everything?
Right. So, typically, I shoot my bow year round, no matter what. And that's just something I've always done just because I really enjoy archery, even outside of bow hunting. I enjoy doing like 3D shoots and stuff like that. So I'm constantly just shooting my bow anyway. So that in itself, I think, is about the best thing you possibly can do to keep up, the muscle memory and the stamina in your arms and everything. Just being able to, I guess, have that at your disposal is just shoot all year round. That's what I do. I definitely don't shoot every day, but leading up to season, I try to shoot, 4 or 5 times a week for sure.
Right.
Because if I get complacent with it, it's just like anything else. It's you get complacent with something, and then all of a sudden you pick up your bow and you're like, man, I knew I was a better shot than that. Like, what the heck's going on? It's like, well,
right.
Your muscle memory's breaking down. Maybe you're starting to develop a little bit of target panic or anything like that. So to keep the target panic down and to keep your muscles in shape is my best advice, is shoot all year round.
So you're shooting all year round, which is a great thing to do if you have the time. And I shouldn't even say time. You could make time. You know what I mean?
Right.
But like when you live in those states that have, winter and everything, are you shooting outside? Are you trying to find something inside? Like down in my basement here, I can get about 9 yards. Is that good enough? Is that what you're doing?
Oh, yeah.
Or how does that work?
Oh, yeah. So we're fortunate enough here in Lincoln. We've got it's called Prairie Bowman. It's just an archery range here in Lincoln, Nebraska. And they've got a decent indoor range, and I go and shoot that all the time during the winter. You stretch out to about 30 yards in there. But when I don't have time to make it down to the range, just like you're saying, I literally I shoot into my kitchen. Nobody else.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Nobody's like living here. I don't have any dogs running around or nothing like that. But if I miss and hit a cabinet, well, that's my fault. But yeah, no, I just set a block target in the kitchen, and I can step into the living room and get about 10 yards and just crush reps. That's the biggest thing, is just hitting your anchor point and pulling through and just making the shots happen. And it doesn't necessarily have to be at a long distance or long yardage or anything like that, but like you said, just keeping the muscle memory up and repetition is the biggest thing.
For sure. Those are great tips, because before we got on the call here, I was down here blind bailing at like 2 yards just to get the feeling back in my arms and just get close and close your eyes and just let the release go off. And that's what I'm trying to get back in my head. And I think I'm going to start doing that every night, at least down here, do 30 arrows or something in the basement when it's late and I get home, and just go do it, and it helps out a lot, I can tell. And doing that, I think you can make strides quicker as well. And, sometimes for some people I know it does become a chore. We're like, oh, I got to go pull the target out, got to go put it in the backyard, and it's going to be like shoot on flat ground. It's like, spruce it up a little bit. Shoot from the shed, top of the shed or the house or something, or go downstairs and shut your eyes and try to hit the target.
Yeah. And one thing I'll also do is, so I'm always like working on my release. Just I shoot pretty strict back tension. It's just kind of maybe it's just the target side of me or whatever. But over the years, I've just grown to really, really like shooting back tension, and it's helped me be a better archer for sure, and completely got rid of my target panic. I had about 6 or 7 years ago, I was getting ready to go out on an antelope hunt. And right before the hunt, I was shooting a finger trigger style release. And right before the hunt, I'm talking like days before the hunt, I got super, super bad target panic and was locking low on the target. And literally like 2 days before the hunt, I completely broke down, like switched over to a thumb release and just started like researching everything I could about target panic, what was the cause, what's going on. And pretty much got it figured out, and then I went and shot a goat at like 70 yards. It was like money.
Holy cow.
So I was like, well, I'm shooting back tension from here on out. So
That's crazy.
yeah. I guess
Yeah.
it'd been probably 4 years ago. I think it was 2015. So, but yeah.
In your research and target panic, what did you find that were some major causes of target panic?
So, have you guys ever heard of Joel Turner?
Yep.
So that guy, like, if anybody's, I've never taken his course or anything like that, but I'm pretty good friends with Josh Bomar, and he took Joel's course and went through it, and I need to go do it. He recommended it to me just to learn more about it. But Joel Turner's got a really, really good, I guess, program set up to kind of help people cure themselves of target panic. Basically, what's going on is, like, your mind doesn't want to, you're anticipating the explosion of the bow, if you will. And naturally, we don't react very well to the explosion of something. So, like, your mind is basically like tweaking milliseconds before the shot. And you're either correcting yourself, like you're not allowing your pin to float. You're letting it lock low. And then right at the last second, you're jumping that pin up into the target and slamming the trigger. And you're just throwing your shot like way off. You need to be able to allow your mind to let that pin float and be okay with it floating, and just pull through, and just focus on your release, focus on the shot going off, and just don't let that explosion like stop the process. That's the biggest thing, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does, because I get times where I do that where, you pull back and you're holding and holding your breath, and it's like, okay, I'm getting short of breath, find the target, find the dot, let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to get into that. Now, do you have like a shot sequence, you go through your head, talk to yourself, or, is it just second nature? I mean, do you have like, little keywords that you say to yourself when you're in full draw?
I don't know if I've got keywords per se, but I will find myself every once in a while, like, thinking in my head. If I'm in a high stress situation, I definitely do. Like, if I know that I'm like, all right, my heart rate's going, adrenaline's packed right now, I need to make this shot. And basically I'll just pull back. I'll get into my anchor like I normally would. And if I feel like I'm just like, my heart's pumping through my chest and I need to slow down, I'll make it a mental point to like take my thumb completely off the trigger and think through the process and be like, all right, chill, you're good, get in your shot, you don't miss. I kind of just say, you don't miss. I always miss.
Right.
It's not like I don't miss, but when you put yourself in that mental, I shouldn't say always, but when you put yourself in that mental state of you don't miss, you're telling yourself you will make this shot because you have to.
Right, and it's almost like you're slowing the game down.
Yep.
Like an NFL player coming into, like a rookie coming into the NFL for the first game, and it's like you got to slow that game down for it to come naturally again.
Right.
So I could definitely see that, and that's what I'm trying to figure out right now too. Is just kind of have a couple words or something, or just a shot sequence that you over and over repeat just to get in that form, and then it becomes second nature, and then everything just takes over from there.
Yeah. And another thing you were talking about, you were blank bailing. That's a really, really good thing to do, is either just take your sight off your bow and like don't focus on the sight, don't focus on the point that you're aiming at, just focus on the process and get into your anchor point, pull through, let the shot go off without like actually focusing on like a spot per se. The other thing I like to do, like at work, if I know I'm not going to be able to shoot that day, whatever, I'll bring a piece of D-loop material and I'll just tie it off to my draw length, which is 27 inches. And I'll bring my release with me, and on lunch break or just taking a break or whatever, I'll just pull that little piece of D-loop material out of my pocket, hook my release on it, pull it up to my face. I just keep that piece of D-loop material right on my bow hand palm and just push it out like you would a bow. And
that's a good
just
idea.
Let it release. Let the release go off. Obviously, you're not shooting an arrow; it's just a piece of string. But it allows you to go through the mental process of letting the shot break, and executing, I guess. So it's just like I say, if you know you're not going to be able to shoot that day, just a good way to keep the repetition going.
For sure.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, Yeah, it is. Justin, do you have anything like that you go through, any mental notes or any shot sequence that you like to rattle off in your head?
Not that I've really developed yet, but I have been able to identify that. I don't know if it's target panic or how you want to define it, but I'm always consistently low. Like Joel, you just said, you found yourself locking in low on a target, and then you'd kind of jump at that last second. And I don't know if I'm jumping like that, but for some reason I am finding myself locked in lower than I want to be 9 times out of 10. Like, I group really well, even back to like 50 yards, but 9 times out of 10, that group is going to be 2 to 3 inches low. And the only thing I've come up with so far that has helped me start to, to remedy that is when I come down on an animal, like when I get my pins out there, like I'm at full draw and I'm settling the pin back, I tend to want to come up on the target instead of down, mainly just because like I'm too afraid of like dropping in on it and then going past, or trying to like, release the shot prematurely before I'm actually settled. So I kind of told myself, well, just go up from the bottom, and fight gravity, and then get it to where you want, try to hold it there, and then go through your release process. And I think I just started getting lazy in that process, and I stopped trying to float the pin. I just settled first close enough, and then I touch it off. So I'm working on trying to fix that. I don't know if that's what you'd consider target panic or not, but
it's definitely a form of it. Because I was kind of that, like I say, that was kind of what I was doing with before I went on that antelope hunt.
Yeah.
But one thing that also really helped me was like when I'm drawing onto a target or drawing onto an animal, I try to raise the bow up and get my line of sight. Like I'm focusing and I'm looking on, like I'm picking a spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On your target,
Yep.
pick a spot. On the animal, pick a spot, and draw your bow like straight back to your face with the form that you would, shoot with. Settle into the peep, and hopefully your pin should be like right there on the target, just kind of floating around instead of maybe coming up or coming down. You know what I mean? Easier said than done.
Just get it pointed in
but
the general direction.
Yep.
Yeah,
You don't really have to influence it up or influence it down. You're already in the general vicinity by the time you're starting to get through your shot.
Yeah, and I've talked to Aaron about this before, but one thing I did change on my setup this year was my stabilizer, and it's helped a lot because it's one of those telescoping stabilizers, and you get a little bit more weight forward out in front of the bow, and it really allows you to watch that pin settle down. Like it blew my mind how much it blew my mind. Like, it was a noticeable difference, and like I said, I'm still working on trying to get out of that habit of coming up on the target, but the stabilizer, I think, is helping in making sure I'm paying attention to that pin floating on that spot, as opposed to, oh, there it is, send it,
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Well, when it comes to shooting often, like you said you're doing, are you when you go at full draw on an animal, are you looking at the pin or are you looking at the animal where you want it to hit? It's always a question that a lot of people ask me, and when the first person to ask me, I'm like, man, I can't really remember, so that's what I like to ask a lot of people. Do you look at that pin or do you look at the animal where you want to hit them?
I got a dead beat on the animal. I let the pin kind of be in my peripheral when I first come to draw.
Yep.
So I'll let that. I'll obviously you see the whole housing in your peripheral, right? So when I draw back on the animal, I'm staring at a spot on that animal that I want to hit. Drawing back, letting that housing be in the general vicinity of where I'm looking at. By the time I'm into my anchor, I can kind of pull my eyesight back to the pin just to make sure my bubble's level, make sure that everything's right on that end of things, like so I'm not super off to one side or the other and the bubble's way off.
Right.
And then I focus back on the animal, and while I'm focusing back on the animal, the whole time I'm pulling through my shot and just waiting for that release to break and just trying to achieve the surprise release,
Yep.
And the whole time just letting that pin float right on that spot that I've picked out. And I mean, 9 times out of 10, that shot breaks and it goes where you want it to. It's kind of a crazy thing because, like, you see the pin floating, and you're like, what the heck? Like, there's no way that arrow's going to hit where it's supposed to hit with that pin just going up and down and left and right and bobbing and weaving. Well, when you're pulling through your shot, the shot breaks. It's like, oh, the arrow found its mark. You know, it's
Right.
because nobody's dead steady. Nobody can actually hold the pin perfectly steady. But when you allow that pin to float and you're okay with pin float, just picking that spot and holding that spot is, I mean, that's pretty much what I do anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the mental game of archery is just, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's so mental, and, you know, it's so easy to get out or get into bad habits rather than get into good habits, I feel like. And it's so easy to get out of those good habits, and it's just, you got to be mentally tough. And it's just like fitness, you know, when you're on a mountain hunt or anything like that, or any hunt, but, you know, a tougher hunt maybe out west or in the North Country or something, it's a lot of it's mental.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, you do have to be in good shape, but it's a lot of mental game. You know, when you get into a hunt, you know, you do a lot of working out and very healthy and everything. Do you find yourself ever, when you're in the mountains, just gassed, or just like, man, I'm just tore up right now and beat up? I mean, do you ever find that out?
I break down all the time. That's the funny thing. I mean, you can be the most in shape dude in the world, like absolute savage, and one time or another you're gonna break down on the mountain. Whether it's a mental thing where, you know, maybe you got a girlfriend back home or whatever, she's dealing with something, you're not there, you got, you know, wife, kids, whatever, you're thinking about something. A lot of guys will talk themselves off of the mountain, and you know, maybe they got 7 or 8 days to hunt and they've talked themselves off the mountain at day 5. That's kind of like the mental side of things, where you just have to be able to push through adversity and don't let yourself talk yourself off the mountain. The physical side of things, the only times I really break down physical side is when I'm so involved in the hunt that I forget to eat or I forget to drink the adequate amount of, like, when my nutrition is pulled away from me because I'm so headstrong that I'm like, oh, I'm going to go get this stalk on. I'm going to get way up high into the basin and be there before light and all this stuff. And I forget to eat breakfast because I woke up late, whatever. That's like, I can't allow myself to do that, because that's when I'll break down. Nutrition is the biggest thing for me on the mountain. Like, physically, I feel like I'm in pretty good shape physically and can take on a lot of stuff. But like my if I'm not drinking enough water, my quads will lock up. You know what I mean? Heavy packs and stuff like that. If I'm not drinking water, I'll lock up. I think that's just kind of like the nature of the human body.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, the body can only take so much, you know, and it from being not on the mountain, you know, all year round, you're using muscles that, you know, might be used a little differently than just lifting or working out, you know, and those things are just like, ho, what's going on? You know, it's, so I could definitely see that. And I think we talked about it before. Like, a lot of the mountain hunts I've been on, honestly, I've, you know, did some running before, but nothing like too strenuous, not going to lie. But I'm about 180 pounds. I'm about 5'10", and, you know, usually the first day is the toughest for me. And then after that, I do really well. Like, I kind of get my legs from under, or, you know, I get my legs underneath me and just go, you know, and it's, I've always thought myself as pretty mentally strong, especially when it comes to a mountain thing. And, you know, a lot of times we're in the North Country where it's like, you know, you're a couple hour bush plane ride from civilization. So you got to be on point, you know, you got to take every step, you know, calculated and make sure you're good. And I don't know if it's just the environment I'm in, and it's just like, you just got to think through things more. But I don't know. I never really have struggled. I mean, there's been times where it's like, man, I do not want to do this, you know? And it's like, you got to pack out a sheep for the next 5 miles, and it's like up and down, up and down. It's like, I don't want to do this. But then when you get done with it, you're like, man, that wasn't too bad, really, you know?
I want to go back.
So,
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, speaking of fitness, like, I want to touch on something, Joel. Like, I've been seeing your Instagram stories, you know, lately, and I've followed you ever since we we met back in the winter. We had you on, the podcast then, but I've seen lately you've been at some CrossFit center maybe. I see some AstroTurf or something in there, and you've got a workout program going where you're doing burpees and you're doing your regular workout, but then you've got a target set up inside, so you're pumping it out, and then you're grabbing your bow and taking shots out of breath. Like, what's that about?
Yeah. So a big thing with like my brand and stuff, like I've always wanted to promote fitness in the hunting industry just because it's helped me. It's not necessarily like, by no means will I ever promote like you have to work out in order to be a good hunter and stuff. Like, no way, dude. There's I think I even said this in the earlier podcast, like there's dudes that are, 5'6" and 210 pounds that could probably out hunt me. But, it's just, I'm not that kind of person. And I know a lot of people aren't, you know what I mean? There's a huge benefit to fitness when it comes to hunting, and bow hunting specifically. So anyway, I've had a ton of questions from some of my following that's like, hey, what's your workout regimen? What do you do? What's your nutrition? Do you have a program or something that I can follow? What are you doing? And I've always wanted to be able to offer a program for somebody that is hunting specific. Like all of the movements are actually hunting specific. So anyway, I linked up with my buddy Cody about the same time. I went on my bear hunt. He was also in Montana on another bear hunt with some of his friends. And we got to talking, and it was like, man, that was a crazy hunt, fun hunt, And it was like, we need to talk, because like he wanted to get something together. I wanted to get something together. A little background on my buddy. He's a strength and conditioning coach, and he trains a couple of guys, even major league guys. And he's got like I can't remember what the name of the guy was, but he's got a UFC fighter under contract. So he does a lot of like high level strength and conditioning for sports, like high level sport athletes. And so anyway, but he's a big bow hunter too. And so we got to talking and stuff, and I'm like, dude, I want to be able to come out with some programs. He wants to be able to come out with some programs. He's got his own business called Kratos, and they got 2 gyms here in Lincoln. And so we just linked up and started talking about like what we could put together for programs and what we could do and all that. Started kind of hashing it out, doing the workouts ourselves. And dude, it's like game changing. Like the kind of like this guy just has a lot of like I say, he trains really high level athletes, and he's got a lot of knowledge in how the body works and different movements and what's going to activate different things. And so anyway, we're basically developing 3 different workouts, one that you can kind of do at home, and then in advanced and kind of like an intro to hunting platform. So 3 different workouts that people can kind of get a hold of and just be able to work on throughout the season or even preseason, getting ready for the hunts and stuff. But yeah, man, it's cool. It's one of them things. It's like hunting has its own movements that aren't necessarily like any other sport. If you're going over deadfall timber and stuff like that, and you're tripping and stumbling, you need to be able to have that like fast reaction to be able to catch yourself. You got a heavy pack on and stuff. You're going uphill. You need to be able to train your quads, man. They're going to give out if you're not really giving your quads the kind of training that it needs. I mean, you guys know, you've been on some of those crazy hunts where it's just like it might benefit to have a little bit of training. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, definitely. But yeah, that video you probably seen was like we did this was basically when we were developing the high intensity kind of the advanced program. And in the advanced program, there's a one where you hit the assault bike. You do like 5 different movements, high intensity movements, hit the assault bike until you're about gassed, then pick up your bow, and you got to make 3 shots and make them count like at 20 yards. So high, your heart rate's up, your adrenaline's pumped, and you still got to make those kill shots. So it's fun. It's definitely fun. It's something we're going to be able to offer to people. hopefully about mid-September. We're just kind of working out the fine details of it, but yeah.
Very nice.
That's sweet. As a lot of that like free weight stuff, or a lot of stuff, you said one program will be for people to do possibly at home.
Right.
Like what will that entail, if you can kind of give like a 30,000 foot view? Right.
So the in-home workouts, we're going to suggest different things that people could buy, like even off of Amazon, like a heavy band, a medium band, maybe just a generic set of dumbbells, something like that. And even if you don't have dumbbells, you can use something else at home that's got a little weight to it. But basically, a lot of body movements, a lot of high intensity training, a lot of band work, stuff like that you can do at home. The other two programs will be like, if you have an in-home gym, it'll definitely work. Otherwise, if you have a gym membership, just anywhere, that'd be the best. You know what I mean?
For sure. And that's what's cool. Like, a lot of people are trying to look for that. A lot of people don't have time to go to the gym, or, going to a gym too, for a lot of people can be very intimidating. So it's like they'd rather do it in the confines of their own home, late at night and after the kids went to bed or something, or who knows what it is, but something to do at home with convenience is very helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
So do you think that you're ready for your mule deer hunt coming up?
Oh, that's a great question. Every year I feel like I'm in like bulletproof, I'm like, yeah, it's done. We're good. I'm ready to hit it. And then, like you said, just about cause I'm a flatlander. I live in Nebraska. So when I go up to Utah, we're hunting 10, 11,000 feet. So the first day I'm typically just getting acclimated to it. But the nice thing about this year is I'll be going out to Idaho. So I'm making like a 16-day loop, which is pretty sweet. It's going to be fun. But basically going up to Idaho first and scouting and just hunting with a friend out there that she's got an antelope tag. So I'll be up there for like 3 or 4 days before I drop down to Utah. Well, some of the spots that we're scouting, and she wants to swap out some cards on trail cameras and stuff for elk, it'll be up 10,000 feet. So I'll kind of already be acclimated, I guess, to the high elevation by the time I come through Utah for my mule deer hunt, which will be a lot better this year because like I say, I'll be jumping right into Utah already acclimated.
Right. Yeah, that is nice. Helpful.
Yeah, so I'm feeling good about it. I definitely, like I say, every year you feel really good about it, and you get up there, and it's the high country. I mean, it's always a pretty rough hunt physically, but yeah, I feel good about it. I don't think I'm gonna have any issues.
Are you gonna be camping throughout the hunt, or are you guys gonna be coming back down every day?
Yep. Nope. We'll pack all our water, pack our tents, everything, and we'll go straight up, and we won't come down until we either kill or it's we're going to do a couple different things. If we kill early, we'll drop down and we'll come back through Nebraska and hunt antelope and mule deer in Nebraska on the way back through. So like the western portion of the state. Otherwise, we're going to try to stay up at deer camp like 7 or 8 days and drop down and still try to get about 3 days of antelope hunting on the way back.
Awesome.
So, but yeah, we'll be packing everything up there, and all our food, water, everything, tent gear, everything will be up there.
That's the way to do it, man. You just you get in tune with everything going on, and I think it really helps contribute to the success of the hunt if you can just commit to, being part of the mountain for that time frame instead of trying to just go up there for an afternoon or a morning hunt, and get back down. But
when you're doing that, you're exerting a lot of energy trying to get up and down. Because basically where we're going, it's about a 4.5 mile hike to get up to where we're going to be camping, and then from there we split off from camp. Camp's about 10,000 feet, and we'll hunt everywhere from 10,000 to 11,000 in the high basins. So
nice.
If you're doing that every day and coming up there every day, I mean, you're going to be burned out quick.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have as efficient of a hunt, I would say, as if you just brought your stuff up there the first day. Embrace the suck of getting all your stuff up there. Set up camp and have somewhere to be able to come back and relax to it every day.
Yeah. I see you've been getting your brother Ethan on the channel a lot. Is he going to be going with you?
No. He's working. He's building decks. I don't know how
Yeah.
happy his boss would be with him taking 16 days off.
Yeah, he's,
You know
he's a
what?
funny guy,
boss has
man.
been- I was gonna say my boss has been super, super good about time off and stuff. As long as I put it in early enough, we're good. But
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah,
Your brother,
That's-
dude, I've been following him. He's a
Yep.
character. We need to get him on here.
isn't he? Dude, he's a
Yeah,
riot.
that's what
I
was
love
gonna say.
watching his stories, man.
He like, it's like half comedian. You know, he's like half
He is
serious.
a comedian.
He's like half serious, but half like completely not serious. Just
Yeah.
I love
bugging
it.
off, you know.
You just can't tell which one he is at the moment. You're just like,
I know.
serious? Like, what are you doing? Was he joking or is he mad right now? Like, I don't know what's going on.
I know it. No, he's a character. He'd love to get on the podcast sometime for sure.
What hunts has he got coming up this year?
Just whitetail, just local whitetail around here in Nebraska, I think.
Okay.
He hasn't done a whole lot of us. Believe it or not, Ethan's only been hunting about 3 years.
See,
Oh,
that's
wow.
crazy to me.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? He's become a pretty dang good archer in 3 years.
Yeah.
So when he first
Yeah,
started
you-
shooting bows and stuff like that, he kind of got into hunting around the same time that I had started Whitetail Fit and started the brand and stuff. And he kind of was like, man, that's kind of cool. Like, I kind of want to try that. Let's go out on a hunt, whatever. And so he ended up getting a bow, and I kind of coached him a little bit for the first 6 months to a year with shooting. And then he like took it and ran, dude. Like he started watching everything that John Dudley was putting out with Knock On, just learning everything that he possibly could, because he just became obsessed with archery. And dude, he got like way good, way fast. Which
That's
is cool
awesome.
because he kind of was able to start with a clean slate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Without like really developing like, dude, I developed when I first started bow hunting like 14 years ago. I didn't know anybody that bow hunted, so I didn't know how to shoot. I didn't know anyone to turn to talk about shooting. YouTube wasn't around to really do much for you, and
Great.
so I started with bad habits. You know what I mean? Like when I started shooting, I shot a compound with fingers and like Wal Mart broadheads and arrows, and nothing wrong with that whatsoever, but I didn't know what the heck I was doing, you know. And it was like that for
Right.
several years before I was able to actually be like, oh wait, this is kind of how it's supposed to do, you know, you're supposed to do it, and this is kind of how you tune a bow, and this is, you know. So
Yeah.
him being able to start with a clean slate, dude, he's become a really good archer.
Yeah, if you
That's
get a
awesome.
chance, throw a bug in his ear and see if he'd want to come on and talk about that right there. I mean, just being kind of still a new bow hunter, but still like doing it at a high level now,
Mhm.
you know, so that'd be a pretty cool thing to talk about. I'd really enjoy that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, getting back to, you know, so you're going on a mule deer hunt here soon, real soon, and then possibly an antelope hunt. So what is in the books after the mule deer hunt then? I know whitetail's coming around, but what will be your next trip?
Right. So, like I say, whitetail starts here in Nebraska September 1st. So getting to jump early on the season with the mule deer hunt is awesome. So coming up through Idaho, just doing the scouting with my friend, and then driving down to Utah doing the mule deer hunt, coming back through Nebraska and doing, like I say, antelope and mule deer in Nebraska out in the plains on the way back through. And basically I'll be hunting whitetail pretty much the rest of the year. I don't think I have any other plans. If I tag out in Nebraska, I'll be jumping over to Missouri for whitetail. But
Okay.
I won't be going over there unless I tag out in Nebraska. I'm just going to focus all my time here. But kind of cool, in October, I'm taking my dad out for Father's Day. I put this like thing together or whatever that I'm taking him out on his first bow hunt. So, which will be super, super fun. He's never actually had gone on an actual bow hunt where he's had the tag in his pocket and everything. So
That's awesome, man.
yeah,
that'd
it'll
be
be
really
a ton
cool.
of fun. I'm actually, there's a little small town in Nebraska I'm taking him to where he grew up, and just so happens there's quite a bit of public land around there. So it's going to be
That's
fun,
sweet.
man. We went out and scouted a couple weekends ago. I took him out there and we camped and scouted, and Dad hadn't been camping for like 18 years. This was like first time he'd been camping in 18 years. He took us, you know, as kids way back when, but he hadn't gone for himself after that. So we went out there and we were camping out on the plains and scouting, and we saw 30 deer, and he was having a riot. So I think he's really going to enjoy the hunt.
That's awesome.
That's
That kind of gives me chills, because now it's like, you're teaching him how to hunt, when a lot of times, guys like us, like we have a mentor, like a father that like
Right.
got us into it. So that's pretty cool to see, like, you doing that to him.
Yeah,
That's
it's kind of crazy. It's like, full circle. It's like, it's just cool to, I don't know, just be able to do that,
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Are you gonna film that one, or are you just gonna kind of take it in?
Yeah.
You are gonna film it?
I kind of talked to him about it. I'm like, what do you think? Like, do you care if I film? What do you want it? Like, because me, honestly, I'm like, I don't have to film at all whatsoever. Like, just take it in. Like I said, just take it in with my dad and go on a hunt. And I'm kind of back and forth with it. I want to film it just so that I have the memory on film with Dad, and being able to bring it back, because my grandpa is like my biggest fan. It's so cool. So like being able to bring the video back and showing his dad, my grandpa, all the footage and stuff, and it's where they all grew up out there, out in western Nebraska. So being able to show him that stuff will be really, really cool. So I think I'm going to film it regardless, just to be able to share with the family and stuff. So, but definitely
awesome.
take it in. I mean, I'm not going to be nearly as serious with it if it were, my hunt, but.
Right.
So what are the prospects looking like this year? I know you've been scouting. I see you've been scouting. What's the bucks looking like?
Oh man, good, really good. Last year, we had a couple studs last year on camera and stuff, but both of them ended up getting killed in rifle season. So neither of them deer are back. And when I say studs, like one was what did he go, 168 or something, and the other one went like 188. And
Holy cow.
yeah, giants. And the one that went 188 was a typical. So
Holy cow.
yeah, he's a big one. Like I kind of was looking through the record books and stuff like that, and if I'd have been able to shoot him with the bow, it should have been for sure top 3, but I think it would have been top 2 in Nebraska for a typical.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, it was a big deer. So
Now, this year, are you going to change anything up as far as tactic-wise for public land, for whitetail or anything? Or are you just going to kind of go in?
Yeah, a little bit. I kind of already have changed things up a little bit. So with cameras, last year I was really like, I ran 12 or 14 cameras last year, all through the summer and stuff, velvet season. And even into the season, I was still running and checking probably 6 to 8 cameras. And, but I had them like, closer to bedding, not all the way into bedding, but closer. And I just felt like I was just getting a little too intrusive with just checking cameras. Like if I was going to get intrusive, I wanted to hunt and not just go in just to pull a card. You know what I mean? So kind of later into the season, I was definitely just like making it a point to not go in to just check a card, like go in and hunt. And if, on your way out, check the card. But this year I haven't put any of my cameras on the interior. This year I've set all of my cameras on the transitions coming out of bedding, like into the big ag fields. Transitions going to next property, going back into private, that kind of thing. Just fence rows and stuff like that. That's where I've got all my cameras this year. So that it's like easy access for me to go check them and not blow a bunch of deer out. So kind of just definitely change things up a little bit there as far as scouting goes. And I'm spending a lot more time on fields with glass right now, just like watching bean fields and stuff. And picked out a bachelor group a couple weeks ago that one of the bucks I knew from last year, and there's a new buck that's big, 160s probably.
That's
big.
perfect.
So yeah, big. So
That's awesome.
That's sweet.
I got to tell you a quick story, Joel. We did a podcast, a few weeks ago. I went over to Wisconsin with my buddy Cooper, who you actually met when we were out in Salt Lake City after the banquet that night. We talked for a little while, but put a food plot in up at his place. And
him and his dad, right? Was that the...
Yep.
That was Cooper.
His dad was there with us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that was him. and I've been hunting with him for a few years now, and I've never really contributed anything with, doing the work on the farms and stuff, because I was living in New York. It was just tough to get out there, but being in Iowa, it's 3 hours away, and I finally said, I'm going to cough up a food plot this year, so went up there for a weekend, and it was like totally off the cuff, last minute, 9 o'clock on a Friday night, walking through Wal Mart and Tractor Supply trying to piecemeal a food plot together, and I got to tell you, I reached to the top shelf for those $28 Bushnells, and it put their cameras to shame because they spent half the day. They spent
the $28 Walmart cameras.
Dude, it worked, and the cameras that they were putting out, it took them half the day just to get them set up and in range, and you got to haul in 30 pounds of D batteries, and I'm just like, have fun, boys. Have at it. I got the simple, the KISS method here. I'm keep it simple, stupid, and just strap them to the tree. And 8 AA's came with an SD card and $28 for a camera.
Yeah. For reference, if people are wondering, I'm like, dude, I'm so cheap.
That's why you and Aaron get along.
Well, I'll say this: when it comes to certain things, it's like if the quality doesn't outweigh the money, like I'm just gonna go with what's a little bit cheaper, a little more affordable. I'm not rolling in dough, you know what I mean? And running 12, 14 cameras is expensive. So, but anyway, I got locked onto these. I out of the blue, I'm like, dude, $28 for a camera. Walmart sells these cameras. I think they're made by Tasco, and they're like $28. And I just was walking through. I'm like, dang, $28, that's cheap. I wonder how they work, So I got one, went and set it out on some public because I'm like, well, $28 if it gets stolen, whatever, And it was like outperforming some of my other cameras that I've paid $180, $200 for. So I'm like, well, all right, I'll try another one. Maybe, because $28, surely they're going to break down. I've ran, like I say, 12 or 14 of them. I think I've had one go down. And I've been running for like 2 years, the same cameras.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
What are you putting them on? Mainly scrapes or trails? I mean, how's the trigger speed and everything on that?
They're awesome, dude. Like I say, dude, they're a lot of bang for the buck. They're like during the summer and stuff like that, velvet, I'll run it over corn and or mineral. Here in Nebraska, you got to just pull your bait like 10 days. The bait's got to be pulled like on 10 days prior to season opening, or it's got to be like 200 yards away from where you're hunting or something like that. I just pull it all 10 days prior. So, but basically during season, I'm running them on scrapes, I'm running on trails, all that. I will say the video mode isn't like, it does take 720 video, but it's not like amazing video. And I don't think it has audio. I think it's just video. So I don't really run video very often anyway, unless it's like dead of like pre-rut, heavy pre-rut, and it's over like a very active scrape. I might turn it on video just to get something cool. But otherwise I'm just running it on pictures.
That's crazy. I would have never thought those cameras would have been worth a darn.
Yeah, I didn't either. I didn't either, dude. I watch a bunch of people are going to go buy them now, and they're going to be complete crap.
I was going to say, maybe I'll cut this out of the podcast so nobody knows about it, and we can go get them all.
All the Walmarts around the country are just going to be just
sold out.
Yeah, devastated. But yeah, I mean, try them out for yourself, I guess. Like, I obviously have no affiliation whatsoever with Tasco. They just work. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's cool.
I mean, it's just like you said, bang for the buck, and it was. How do you say no to $28 if it works?
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing, I've ran the battery life is like legit. Like I've ran a single set of battery. They say they're supposed to last for 6 months. I've ran them for like 9-10 months, no problem. Wow. Taking a lot of pictures. So yeah,
it's crazy.
I think they're a very like overlooked, underestimated camera.
Yeah. I had to buy 2 that were $38 just because the $28 ones, there was only one left.
Oh, dang it. Yeah, dude, after I realized it. Oh, dude, after I realized it, I went in there, I cleaned out all 3 Walmarts in town. I went in. I think I ended up with
Buy
like
'em
10
all.
cameras. Yeah, I just went in and I'm like, hey, do you have these cameras? Yeah. Do you have any in the back? Yeah, we got a couple. I'll take them. You know,
Want 'em all.
I cleaned all 3 Walmarts out in like a day.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So.
Well, sweet, man. I mean, we're coming up on an hour here, and I want to be conscious
Is it
of your
really?
time as well.
Gosh,
Yeah.
dang, dude, podcasts fly, man.
Fly.
Yeah, they really do.
Time flies when you're having fun, man.
That's right.
Well, Joel, I'm probably gonna be a thorn in your side because I know you're gonna be close to me in Utah, so I may just try to keep up with you a little bit. You know, send a text and share some photos with you, whatever. But,
Oh, yeah,
keep me
dude,
posted
absolutely.
on what you guys
Yeah.
are doing and how things are looking for you guys, and I'll do the same. I'm going out on Tuesday. I got to get out there in time to get some drone footage, and you're not allowed to fly within 48 hours of the season opening. So
Oh, okay.
Wednesday's my last day I could fly out there and get some shots. But I'm going out early. I'm gonna camp on my own and scout for the 3 days leading up to it, and wait for my buddies to get there and hopefully have a game plan. And I don't know where you guys are hunting, but I know we're going to be close. Like, not on the same face or anything, but I know.
Sure. I was gonna say, are you
Geographically,
hunting?
we're not
Are you
very
hunting the
far.
high country or the low country?
I think it's going to be lower than what you were at, but yeah, day hike type of things, like with a base camp. Yeah, same setting.
Cool.
Just south of Salt Lake there. So
Yeah, if we drop down or something like that, towards the end of the hunt or something, we'll have to grab a bite to eat in Salt Lake.
yeah, definitely, if we can link up for sure.
Yeah.
Well, cool, Joel. I appreciate you coming on, man, and doing this again. And
Yeah, man.
you're always a good guest to have on. And like I said, we'll probably have to get you and your brother on together, maybe.
Yeah,
next
dude.
time.
It could get hairy.
So that's all right. That's what this podcast needs, is a little hairiness.
That's right. That's right. No, I appreciate y'all having me on, man.
For sure, man. You have a good evening and have a good rest of your weekend.
Yeah, definitely. You guys too.
Cross on the bridge.